Cheers. Hey, it's Michael, and I'm going to talk about patterns and one that I implement on a regular basis. So I'm getting ready to go to work. It's about 6 o'clock. My shift starts at about 6:30, and I'll be there until about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. This is something that I do pretty much on a daily basis before I go to work. I nourish myself in some manner. I try and move in some manner. I decompress in this way currently. And I'm educating myself about myself. So basically, the education is what I'm going to talk about right now and what it is that I focus on when I'm doing this behavior prior to a long, potentially very stressful night at work, and the way that I decompress in healthy ways for that. So I usually start off with some coffee. So basically I'll go to McDonald's and I'll get 2 black coffees. I may or may not put a little cream in there. So I do this because I want the caffeine and I like the way it tastes and it makes me feel good, and it's just something that I do. I qualify whether or not it is nourishing, treating, or poisoning. I don't feel like the amount or the content or the calories are poisoning, so I can exclude that. So for me, it's mostly treating, and then there is water content in there. So in some way, that is a way for me to get my water intake for the day. Oh, check this out. I think this might be an alligator here. So, but what's more important is the consideration of what it is that goes through my mind when I'm going through this self-educative process. And it's basically something that I've been doing for a long time. It has evolved. If you see some of my other videos from early on, there is one called Press If Happy. There is one called Slim Dunce RR. I call it Slim Dunce Railroad, which is about the 11 systems of the body. And then, of course, there's m.e.n.d, which is Move, Educate, Nourish, Decompress. And then I also have some videos on Tibetan Buddhism philosophy. Talk a little bit about that. And these are all things that I think about on a daily basis, and that when I'm meditating, or whatever you want to call this process, this is basically the line of thought that I have. So real quick, moving, educating, nourish, decompressing, I just went through that. It's basically self-explanatory. So press if happy, you have physical, relational, emotional, social, spiritual, intellectual, and financial. These are the things that I have gratitude for and awareness that these things are in my life in abundance, not in scarcity. And if I have compromise in one or two of these areas, I don't freak out because of this. I just kind of shift my focus to the other wonderful things that are going on in my life. So physically, I'm able to move, I'm able to get out here, I'm pretty healthy. So then you have all of the things that go along with that, getting stronger, and the fact that I'm actually taking an active role in doing these things. So relational, I just actually spoke to my dad. He gave me a call, which was nice to always get a call from my parents instead of giving them a call and hunting them down. So that was nice. Emotional, I'm emotionally stable. I feel good. I'm happy. I'm mostly happy. I'm not always happy. So there's there's the awareness that to think that you're supposed to be always happy, it's just not realistic. So then there's social. I just went and had lunch with a friend of mine prior to me going to work. I've got some leftovers that I can have at about 1 o'clock in the morning. And then let's see what else. spiritual, just being out here in nature for me is basically what I call spiritual. Intellectual, I'm creating videos. I made a video prior to going to eat. Now I'm making a video now, and just this whole thought process is intellectual. And financial, of course, I'm going to work to make some money. So that in itself is meets that financial consideration. So then there's Slim Dunce Railroad, which is the 11 systems of the body: skeletal, lymphatic, integumentary, muscular, digestive, urinary, neurological, cardiovascular, endocrine, respiratory, reproductive. All of those things for me are mostly working. So, rather than think, oh, well, I've got a hurt back or I have a hurt shoulder, or, focus on one thing that is maybe causing me some pain. Instead, I'm thinking about all of the 10,000 things that are causing homeostasis and keeping this human body that I have working in working order. And, I may have a little awareness that some things need to be tweaked. And actually, that just means that maybe I need to take a little bit more responsibility in that process. So then there is the Tibetan Buddhism, which are the 3 obstructions from enlightenment or from having a great life. And those 3 obstructions and the considerations for those are arrogance, patterns, and reactivity. So I consider to myself, is there arrogance in my actions or my mindset that is preventing me from actually taking responsibility for my own health, happiness, well-being, and having an exceptional life? And then, if that is the case, what are the patterns that I implement and the reactivity that I have for certain stressors that may be causing me to be less than healthy? And are there any ways to improve that? And then there are the 4 reminders, which are the reminders of basically our human existence and what it is that maybe we can remind ourselves of a regular basis, just to kind of stay grounded. So those reminders are that human life is a precious gift. There's preciousness in human life, and that we should regard it as such. We should appreciate and love the fact that we are even on this journey. There is karma, which means that what you do matters. So also taking responsibility for the position that you put yourself in, and know that if you do good, positive things towards your goals and just towards life in general, however it is that you want to define this karma thing, whether or not it's just your positive actions are going to reap positive benefits, or if you want to look at it from a more spiritual sense, then that's fine too. Then there is impermanence, that we are here for a finite amount of time, and that we need to consider that we need to consider what it is that we can do to increase that time, if that is a desire that we have, and to actually appreciate the time that we have on this finite human lifespan. And then lastly, that human suffering is normal, and it's basically a part of life, and that whenever we have suffering, that we shouldn't implement unhealthy patterns and reactivity that is going to ultimately lead to greater suffering. That we don't necessarily need to escape from the suffering. We don't necessarily need to avoid the suffering or cover the suffering or hide the suffering, whether or not it's emotional, pain, logistical, whatever it is. We can find healthy ways to deal with these things versus unhealthy ways if we so choose. So that's basically it. And then finally, if I'm having let's say an acute distress internally where I feel like something's wrong, I always question whether or not I am sensing a lack in my life. So for instance, if I'm feeling lonely, am I having lack of companionship, love, interaction, that type of thing? And just to kind of get like an awareness of whether or not that is accurate. If I feel like I'm having a lack of money, to consider whether or not I have maybe been spending too much, whether or not I'm living beyond my means, whether or not I have the things that I really need versus the things that I want, and whether or not I'm prioritizing those correctly. So basically, there's probably somewhere between 20 and 40 common types of lack, and basically going through those and figuring out if there's anything that I need to do to improve my own life process and my own thought process on these types of internal distressors that I'm creating for myself. And I do all of this exceptionally quick. Like it took me however many minutes to create this video and to verbalize this, but this thought process occurs exceptionally quickly, especially when you get used to coming into your own type of meditation, your own type of internalization and awareness building. And this is part of what the benefit of journaling does, is it gives you, it makes a consistent process for you to kind of go through the things in life that are troubling you and to give present-minded gratitude to what's going on in your life right now. And your life is awesome. And if you're watching this video, your life is awesome. You can make it more awesome. I try to make my life more awesome every day. I don't always succeed. Sometimes I just decide to stay in bed and sleep until the last moment before I go to work. And usually there's repercussions for that. There's always a value and a benefit that I feel and see if I actually can organize my life in such a way that allows me to actually get out and do these types of things on a regular basis, despite the fact that I may have a long day at work. And then one other thing that I consider on a regular basis is some common life goals for me is basically safe, simple, calm, content, stronger, and those basic things. So I ask myself, is there anything that I can do to make my life more simple, to make it less complex if the complexity is one thing that may be causing me distress? Do I feel content in the station that I'm at with what I have, who I am, who I'm with? And if I'm not content, is there something that I need to do to correct this situation? And am I calm? If I'm not calm, what is the reason that I'm not calm? Is there anything that I can do to create a more calm state of mind, a more calm state of being and position in my life? Is there anything that I can do to create more strength, whether or not that's emotional strength, intellectual strength, financial strength, and of course physical strength? So I'm going to just end this video here with this little alligator floating off. There was one that was about 3 times that size that tried to chew me up the other day when I was doing push-ups on the pier. So anyway, have a good day. Mend yourself. Move, educate, nourish, decompress. Adios. Time to go to work.